What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have big data coming out that could be affecting the markets and what the market might be doing, as there is some potential to bounce if some key levels hold. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right over here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free Nvda stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're guaranteed $50 worth of Nvidia plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of Nvidia plus $100, or deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free Nvidia stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash, and the offer ends very soon, so please use my link down below to sign up. There's only 2 days left for this offer. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I just want to mention that we got a bit of a sell-off again today. We saw the market dip quite a bit after Myron from the Fed said some things. And the market did see a bit of a dip in the morning, but I mentioned that this dip might be very temporary. And instead of just continuing to collapse, we saw SPY kind of like form a double bottom. Then it began to form wicks right here, and we got a decent close. SPY closed at 658, which is decent. It's not great. It's not terrible. We're kind of like in the middle. And the question is, can we reclaim at least that 658.85 area by tomorrow? If we can reclaim that, there is potential for a bounce, and we're going to be watching to see if that ends up being the case. Now, whether or not we reclaim it depends on some factors. So I first want to talk about the news. I'm going to break down some important things that came out, then I'll break down exactly what's going to happen with our data and how this may affect the overall markets, right? Are we about to see the market try to rebound like this and retest this resistance? Or do we continue to dump? I'll give you guys some answers. So the first thing to remember is what Myron from the Fed said that caused the market to sell off. I think this is one of the biggest factors. Myron from the Fed talked about how he believes that the central banks are risking damage to the economy by not moving rapidly to lower interest rates. He says that he does not think the economy is about to crater. He does not think that the labor market's about to fall off a cliff. But he is telling us that once again, there are some downside risks that could be coming if the Fed does not start to rapidly cut rates. So his view is actually kind of similar to what we heard from Bowman from the Fed. He's essentially saying that when it comes to the way at which interest rates are being priced in, people don't seem to realize what the downside risks are. He mentioned that the Fed is most likely behind the curve and the downside risk is still there for employment. And he is warning the Fed to be very careful, and he thinks that they should start rapidly cutting rates as soon as possible. So he's in the camp, which is very similar to Bowman, that the Fed is behind schedule. The Fed is once again putting us in a very, very dire place because of these high interest rates. And he believes that they need to start cutting as soon as possible. If they don't give us major cuts, he thinks that there's going to be some risks that could really hurt the economy. So he's giving us a big warning about that. That is very, very ironic because the stock market had a different view. The stock market was looking at interest rate cuts as a good thing, right? We're cutting rates, inflation's coming down, there is risk to higher unemployment, but overall things are going to be okay, which is what the Fed was telling us. But then Jerome Powell also gave us a reality check that, look, even though that's what we're hoping for, at least on paper, based off our forecasts and such, it's not 100% guaranteed, and the Fed needs to see inflation continue to drop. That's why the next PCE data report is going to be very, very important. We need to see inflation drop more and more and more for the Fed to continue to cut this year. If inflation keeps going up, the Fed might be forced to keep rates higher for longer, and that could once again kind of shift things. And that's what we heard from Bostic from the Fed. That's his view. So different Fed officials have different views, but I think that this whole notion of the pain that could be coming to the economy kind of hurts the way the market was moving in the morning. Now, this morning, we also got our GDP numbers, which were actually revised above expectations, which is not bad news whatsoever. And then initial jobless claims is very close to expectations. Despite that, the market continued to fall. Then it bounced after that, and the market still held up and got a okay close. Not too great, not too bad. So for tomorrow is going to be a very big day because it's going to be Friday, September 26th, 2025. It's also the last Friday of September. So keep that in mind, the last Friday of September 2025. This could be very important. Now at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have our PCE data report coming out an hour before the market opens. We're expecting core PCE month over month to be at 0.2 to 0.3%, about the same as before. We're expecting all items PCE month over month to be 0.3%, somewhat of an increase by 0.1%. PCE for all items year over year, we're expecting 2.7 to 2.8%, a slight increase. And then core PCE, we're expecting 2.9 to 3%, a slight increase as well. So that's very important. Then we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report and the 5-year inflationary expectations report at 10 o'clock a.m. That may also cause some volatility, so be ready for that as well. PCE is very important because when you look at CPI data, right? CPI has been showing some increases here and there. So are we about to see PCE go up, or will the numbers be as expected? Hopefully they're okay. And you have to remember that the Fed prioritizes PCE. That's their favorite piece of data. The Fed looks at PCE because this is used in different studies when it comes to analysis and such. And this is what the Fed tends to prioritize. So PCE is very important. This will be greatly affecting the Fed's policies. That's why it's going to be very important. On top of this, I just want to add on that when it comes to our options chain, we have a little bit over 275,000 plus of these calls expiring, and we have close to about, or a little bit over 500,000 of these puts expiring, putting a 1.82 put to call option ratio out there, which is putting max pain at 662 right now. This would favor that the market might consolidate and then maybe go a little bit higher, closer to max pain, but this could also be adjusted as time goes on, so we'll see about that. So our PC data tomorrow morning is going to be very important, and be prepared for anything just in case. Hopefully, the numbers are as expected, and we'll see if this helps the market bounce. This could be a very, very big factor. It also is going to impact the probabilities and the sentiment of the market when it comes to our cuts. There's currently an 87.7% chance we get a 25 basis point cut, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. So because SPY is forming wicks here, this does favor that it wants to balance, but we'll see just to be safe. When you first off zoom out and go to the daily time frame, we're holding the 20 EMA. So see the green line down here, we're holding that as support. If we lose and close below 655, that's bearish. It's going to be a bad sign. I think SPY could start dumping to start filling a lot of these gaps if we lose 655 on the daily. But at the same time, there's this gap over here around 661. So are we about to see a rally back up into the 660s? If we get a bounce and we hold above 658 tomorrow, I do think that there is potential to fill that gap back up to 661. There is a chance we do try to bounce if we are going to turn bullish. So if you're bearish, it's very, very simple. Here's what you want to see. If you want to be a big bear tomorrow, you want to see SPY close below 655. If we fail at 655, I easily see us dumping to 652 or below. That's the bearish case if we get a bad PCE report. If there's bad news, we're looking for 655 to fail, and then we're looking for 652 or below. So keep that in mind. Watch that level for tomorrow. If you're bullish, if you want to be a big bull tomorrow, I want to see SPY break the high of the day essentially and hold above it. As long as we either hold or close above that tomorrow, we could be looking for some kind of bounce move. I want to see us hold above 658.85. If we hold that, we're looking for that gap fill back up towards the 661s or above. That's going to take us back into the 660. So we could be pushing a couple of points, maybe even a bit higher to retest this trend line. So 661 to 662 should be tested if we bounce, maybe even higher. We'll see what ends up happening. As of right now, the market has been pushing when CPI came out, and as long as the numbers are very close to expectations, we could be looking for some kind of bounce. I do hope for that, although I cannot guarantee that because of the options chains and because I don't know what the data will truly tell us. I do think the most likely possibility is us trying to bounce because we're forming some nice wicks on SPY and we closed above 658. That is the most likely possibility, but we'll see just to be safe depending on the data. So be very, very unbiased. Be like water, meaning you adapt to what the market's going to be doing. When you are very, very open minded and adaptive, you can make money both ways. If the market dips, you make money. If the market goes up, you make money. That is the way to go about it, and try to eliminate biases and just play the chart in front of you. So hopefully we bounce. I do think it's more likely we try to bounce looking at the setups and because it's Friday. Also, I want to show you guys this trend, although this is not guaranteed. Since August, okay, every time we were, and last week was the only exception to this, but every time we're red on a Thursday, we're green on a Friday. Every time we're green on Thursday, we're red on Friday. So we got 3 red days in a row. We're kind of like due for a bounce as long as there's no bad news. So hopefully we get some kind of bounce move. I think we're kind of due for that. Remember, every time since August, Thursdays and Fridays were opposite days, except for last week. That was the first time we got, two green days for Thursday and Friday. So we'll see if the trend continues. Remember, this is like 7 weeks where we had opposite Fridays and Thursdays, and last week was the only exception. So does that mean we could still see the trend continue? Right? We had a red Thursday. Are we about to get a green Friday? I'm hoping we get some kind of like pivot here and we start bouncing. The daily does suggest that, but we'll see just to be safe. So once again, in conclusion for SPY, you never know what's going to happen with data. We could go either way, so be prepared. But the setup does favor upside a tiny bit more because of the doji forming on the daily, and because of the wicks that are forming here, and because it's Friday, and because we got 3 red days in a row, so we're kind of like due for a green day. Hopefully, we get a bounce, and I do favor that a little bit more, but we'll see just to be safe. Now, on the QQQ, it's very simple. If we lose 591 and close below that, that's going to be more bearish, and we could be dipping to 588 to 585 if we lose 591. That's the yellow line right here. But if we get above the green line, our 20 EMA, I want to see us hold above 596. If we could close above 596, I think we push back up to 600. Okay, so we'll be watching this very closely. I do want to note that on the daily time frame, it's just like SPY. So on the daily, even though we kind of like dipped a bit, we do have this gap to fill. There's a gap at 596. We'll just kind of dip a bit, then start bouncing back up. I hope we do try to bounce. We have not lost the critical support yet, so hopefully we see some kind of bounce move. We'll see just to be safe, as it could go either way. So tomorrow, hopefully we get back above 596. If we do, we could be looking for some kind of bounce. But if 590 to 591 fails, we're looking for a dump. It could go either way, but I'm hoping we get some kind of bounce with the wicks forming. So I do lean a bit more in favor of that, but we'll see just to be safe. It depends on the data. We have a double top on the IWM. It looks kind of weak, but we touched around 238 and then we saw some buyers defend. So if you're a bear on the IWM, you need to see this basically fill at 238. If it closes below that, we're looking for a dump to 235. If you're bullish, you want to get back above 240. If that holds, we're looking for a rebound for 242. I'm hoping we get back above 240 and start pushing for 242. So hopefully some buyers defend. We'll see just to be safe. ES is trying to bounce right now, so we're actually seeing it pushing a little bit. If we lose 66.30, we're looking for a dump. But if we reclaim 66.93, we're going to turn back to bullish. I think that we favor a test of 66.93, and we'll see if it rejects or if it keeps going higher. Hopefully it reclaims and starts pushing for the 6700s, so we'll see as well. On NQ, if we end up losing essentially 24,400, we're looking for a dump. But if we reclaim 24,734, we're looking for a pushback up to 24,800. So hopefully it tries to bounce towards the EMAs, gets back above them, so we'll see how it goes. On Bitcoin, we have this support down here around this 108,000 area. If that fills us, we're looking bearish. If we get back above 110,000, we're going to try to get back above 111,000. I hope we reclaim 110,000, but we'll see. Right now, Bitcoin still looks a bit more bearish. Might retest the low, and it does not look like it's done yet, so I'd be very careful with this. Tesla's not looking too good, guys. We got a weak close on Tesla. I think 420 is a very psychological, very, very important number for Tesla. So 420, we need to hold this. If we could hold this tomorrow and reclaim 428, yes, I favor some kind of balance, but we need to get back above 428 by Monday. We need to get back above that level to get back in this channel. But if Tesla does not hold 420, there's going to be a risk of it dipping all the way down towards 410. So be careful with Tesla. There is downside risk. It depends on these inflationary numbers and the news that comes out for Tesla. Tesla typically follows the markets, but also there can be external pieces of news, right? That could also greatly affect us. So we'll see how it goes. So be very careful with Tesla. Nvidia is on a bit of a downtrend. Now, here's the thing about Nvidia. If we lose 174, we're looking for a dump to 172. But if we hold 174, we could try to rebound and start pushing back up to the 180s. As we dip towards like the 170s, the low 170s, we like to bounce. As we hit the mid 180s, we like to reject. We're kind of in the middle. So hopefully it tries to bounce near 175 and pushes back up to the 180s. So we'll see how it goes. On Appl, if we end up losing 251, we're looking for a dump back down to 244. But if we break past 258, we're looking for a bounce. I do think this might consolidate between 252.5 and 256. And then we could be looking for a breakout for 260. So we'll see how it goes. We have a double bottom leg structure on Netflix. If we end up losing 1200, we're going to be more bearish. But if we break past 1216, we're looking for a bounce. Watch and see what happens around the low 1200s and might consolidate like this. It does like to bounce near 1200, so hopefully we see some buyer's defense, so we'll see how it goes, but be very patient at least nonetheless. MSTR is on a bit of a downtrend. We have support down here around 290, and we have resistance around 310, so we're kind of in the middle. We need to basically hold 300 on MSTR. If we don't, we're going to be dumping a lot more. If we hold 300 tomorrow, I'm looking for a bounce, so it all depends. It really could go either way. 300 is a big support, very psychological level. We do look kind of weak technically, though, so be careful. There's still weakness on the chart. Celsius needs to get back above 52.5 to push back up to 53. But if we lose 50, we're going to be more bearish. I do think we could be consolidating between 51 and 50 for some time before it tries to bounce. So be careful. Supermicro is also in the middle. If we lose 45.5, we're looking for a dip back down. But as long as we hold above 46.15, we're looking for a bounce. I'm hoping we bounce back up to 47, so we'll see how it goes. If Palantir loses 173.8, we're looking for a dump. If we break past 184, we're looking for a bounce. I do think that we could be retesting 175 and then rebounding back up to 180, so we're kind of stuck in the middle for now. For Rivian, we could be retesting 15.3. If that fails us, we could be dipping back down to the low 15s. But if we hold this, we're looking for a rebound back up towards 16. So look for a test of 15.3. Then we'll see if we bounce or not. SoFi is in the middle. If we break past 28.5, we're looking for a push back up to 29. But if we lose 27.8, we're looking for a dump back down. I'm going to be favoring 27.8, and we'll see if we bounce back up to 28.5. For AMD, we're range bound. As we hit 162, we like to reject, but as we hit 158, we like to bounce. We might retest 159.6 to 158, and we'll see if it bounces. It's just consolidating, not really doing a whole lot. ARM is bearish. It's making lower highs and lower lows. Unless we hold 140, I mean, we have kind of like a double bottom here, so maybe it tries to get back up to 143.6, but we need to hold 140. If 140 fills us, it's bearish. It's on a downtrend. I'm hoping we try to retest 143.6 though, and then we'll see if it rejects or not, but look for a small bounce. PayPal is range bound between 66 and like 70. We need to try to hold 66 to bounce back up to about 67.6. But if we lose 66, we could turn back down. So hopefully we bounce back up to 67.5. So we'll see how it goes. Coinbase is on a bit of a downtrend. There's kind of like a head and shoulders like pattern. This typically favors downside, but 300 is very psychological. We might touch 300, then we'll see if we bounce off this. I want to see 300 hold to bounce. If we don't hold 300, look for more downside for 293. Let's see if 300 holds to bounce, so give it some time. On Amazon, we have a head and shoulders like pattern. We're kind of weak here, but I want to see this basically bounce near 215. So if it could reclaim 220 tomorrow, we're back to bullish. If 220 holds, I think we retest 223.6. But if we fail and we can't hold above 216, we're looking for a bigger dump back down. Hopefully we reclaim 220 tomorrow, so we're looking for a bigger bounce. Meta's kind of weak here. Not the best of closes, but we're at support at 745. We got 1, 2, 3 bounces near 745, so we got to hold that tomorrow. If we don't hold 745, I'm bearish. We could still be dipping to 740 or below. We got to hold 745 to bounce back up to 700 and at least 750 plus. 755 plus could be coming if we hold that. So we need to hold support. We're barely holding on Meta. On Google's trying to bounce right now. Look for a test of 250. If we break that, we're looking for 252. As long as 245 does not break, we could be looking for a bounce near 250. So I see potential to retest that. And then Microsoft's on a bit of a downtrend. We're making lower highs here, but watch support at 505. If that fails us, we're going back down to 500. But if it holds, we're looking for a bounce. So look for 505.4, and we'll see if we rebound or not. So give that the time it needs. The VIX is not looking too good. We've been trying to uptrend, but notice that we're kind of rejecting here. If the VIX starts to fall, it could reach 16.34 or 15.96, which could be bullish for stocks. The 10-year has been coming up a little bit. That's part of why the market's dipping. Even the dollar had an inverse head and shoulders. But notice that the dollar is approaching the resistance right here around the 98.7 to 98.5 area. So we'll see if it rejects. So give this the time it needs. So if anything, I just want to say that the market's in a very dire place. We need to, this is like a make or break moment for the market. We need to bounce near where we currently are. I don't want to see SPY lose 655 or else it's going to be more bearish. I want to see us reclaim 658.84 by tomorrow. I want to see us bounce, and that's going to be a good sign. Same thing with the QQQ. I want to see us get back above 596 to rebound. There is a chance we try to bounce off these levels, so we'll see if we could break resistance, and we'll be very, very patient nonetheless. So PCE, in my opinion, is looking like it's in a very critical place. But the thing about PCE is that it's going to be very, very key to see what the market's about to do and really affects the Fed's policy. So get ready for a big move tomorrow. I cannot make promises as the data could be very, very unpredictable sometimes. But in all honesty, just follow the price action, see what happens. Hopefully, we get a bounce. I do hope we get it because we're forming wicks on SPY and the QQQ, and the VIX looks like it's rejecting. We're getting some bullish confluence, but always be prepared for anything, and we'll see what happens with this data. That's going to be the next major factor, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, we get a bounce, though. I do think the charts do favor that a bit more, but we'll see just to be safe. All right. So, with that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. Please have an awesome rest of your guys' days. I'll be back tomorrow before market open to talk about what happens with PCE. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and peace out.